Hi, I'm Skeleton, and in this video I'm going to show you how I configure my GPD WIN 2 for the PS3 emulator. So basically this is what I using. As you can see, here is my config of my drivers. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but in case you can see, this is the old legacy drivers because the new drivers are broken with Vulkan with the PS3 emulator. So basically these drivers are 25, 10, 100, 6373. So basically this is my drivers used. Also make sure that here in the slider you have the maximum performance for the CPU. This is something which is essential for the simulation. Also, I can tell you how I have currently right now my settings in terms of wattage. I'm using 9 watts with some undervolt, of course, and basically then just we need to go to the emulator. Okay, we open RPCS3. And here we go. As you can see, these are the games I have installed. Not all of games run properly. Basically, you can see here in config, there is a debug option here. In case that you don't have this debug option, just make sure that you go to the gconfigs folder inside the emulation, open current settings, and make sure that the show debug tab is the true. Okay, basically this is what you need to have debug options that are useful to debug some of the things of the emulation. This is a build from a couple of days ago, so basically this is what I'm using to run a Virtua Fighter. You can set different configuration for each game. For example, here is what I'm using for, in this case, my, okay, I think that I just put that to 1. This option is useful to use it. Disable the set calculation. Sometimes it helps with the speeding in some games. And as you can see, this is the config for this game. Basically everything is option. For the PPU, the LLVM recompiler. For the SPU, the new LLVM recompiler experimental. Okay. For the GPU, I'm using Vulkan. As you can see here, the anti-HD graphics and isotropic filtering, I use automatic. And here in the resolution scale, I use the 70%. You can also use 75%, but it's okay for this small screen. Basically, you don't notice the difference. For the audio, basically here I have it as it is by default, and everything just by default. Here I just have activated this option that allows me to know where the frame that the game runs, and basically that's it. If I want to run the game, I just make a double tap or press enter. The first time you run a game in this simulation, you will see a config of compiling modules from the PPU and the SPU of the PS3. This is completely normal, but it's something that it is only used once time, or the first time that you play a game. So since I have already compiled, the game boot faster, and basically that's it. He's also loading some of the shader cache that the emulation generates. So basically it also means that with the async shader compilation that is included in these builds of RPCS3, basically you can find sometimes that the graphics are shown very suddenly, or yeah, basically very suddenly, or some options in this scenario can seem broken, but that is only happening because the emulation needs to generate some shader cache. Okay, and here we have our game. Okay, this is something that has happened to me sometimes, that is waiting for download content. So I just close it up and put it again, and it generally is okay after that. It's a bug of this build, because with previous builds I never have that issue, but it's quite okay. If I see that it happens again, I will try to change some of the options. And with this setup, basically this game runs pretty good on the GPD WIN 2. You can find some minor drops in some scenarios, but the game is completely playable. There is also Techno Parrot that also emulate Virtua Fighter V, but unfortunately it's based on Lindbergh board, I think, that needed a NVIDIA GPU. So if you haven't an NVIDIA GPU, you can run the game, at least as far as I know, but I haven't tried otherwise. I will have to test by myself. Okay, as you can see, now it runs and we are ready to make some fight. So we have all the characters. I like this game a lot because it's very technical, it's quite fun to play. If you want to go full screen, you just can press Alt Enter and you have full screen. As you can see, the game runs pretty fine. Okay, here we have another scenario, another character. As you can see, in my opinion, the game is completely playable. Okay, this is a completely new scenario that I never played before. So probably it needs some shader cache, but it seems it doesn't. Okay, and if you want to exit the game, you just can press Alt Enter and we're ready to go. There are not many games that run very good in this emulation. Basically, in order to run the games you can, in my case I have a custom PS3 with a custom firmware, so it's quite easy for me to rip the games to. For example, I have some of them that doesn't run, by like Kingdom Hearts, that I just have it in my drive in case to test in new builds. For example, after the Burner Climax, as far as I know, is one of the games that also runs. And as you can see, this is the example that I told you, that when you run a game for the first time, it will be some time compiling. It takes some minutes to compile all the modules. It depends on the game, depends on the size of the game, of the complexity of the game. So this is completely normal that it needs some time. And basically, but this is only the first time that you run the game. After that, you run a second time, and as you saw with the Virtua Fighter game, the game runs very fast. In this game, I haven't generated any shader cache, so basically it probably will show up some graphics issue just at the beginning of the game, but this is improved with a couple of gameplay of the game. So my opinion is that if you try this emu and you notice that there is some slowdown, and obviously not all games run full speed, of course, just only a few of them run okay on Win 2, because this is an emu that needs the most number of cores and threads as possible, and in the case of the Win 2 it's just 2 cores and 4 threads. So basically it's almost a miracle that some of the games run. Okay, here's generating the game, and we'll see if it runs okay or not, because sometimes it depends of the games. Some games are okay. For some games you need to use a different build. The good thing of this emu is that you can have several builds at the same time, and it's not a problem at all. For example, okay, as you can see, it's compiling shaders, and this is why you notice that some of the options appear suddenly. Okay, I'm just going to take the volume a little bit. Okay, you can see some of the graphics are not shown yet. This is because the async shader compilation, okay? But it's no problem, just fatal error, okay? Probably this game needs some different option. It's a matter of trying or with a different build. For example, one of the games, in case you wanna try, for example, Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim doesn't run with Vulkan, at least with the Intel. So basically, if you want to run it, you have to change that to OpenGL and just press save. Even with OpenGL, the game has some issues. At least at the beginning of the game, it has some graphical issues, but usually run okay. And of course, as I said, I suggest that, okay, as you can see, there is some issues, but usually just the beginning of the game. After that, the game runs okay. Okay, from here, as far as I know, or as far as I remember, it's okay. Okay, the game is generating some shaders, so this is normal that. And here we go. With OpenGL, the game runs fine. With Vulkan, it just shows a black screen. And as you can see, even with OpenGL, it has some issues. But well, these games are okay because they have no PC version, so at least we can play them via the simulation, so it's quite okay. Okay, I'm quite terrible with popcorn filling. Oh my god, it's been ages since I played this. For this game you don't need 9 bats like Virtua Fighter. With this game, just with 7 bats it's okay, okay? Okay, and basically this is what okay, we exit, and basically this is mostly the configuration that I use on the PS3 emulation. As you can see, some games run okay. In my case, I mostly use for Virtua Fighter. For example, I don't know, I can show you. I think that this game also runs fine, as far as I remember. The HD version of Super Street Fighter 2. As you can see, this is the first time I'm running here, so it's compiling all the modules. It takes some time. It depends on the game, but it's only that it's only done the first time you play, so it's not a great issue. I don't know how is it seeing in the camera. I hope that it is more or less okay. If not, I will try to compensate it sometimes. And that's it. It's an emulation that obviously is not thought for Win 2. It's like Simu for the Wii U emulation. It's an emulation that is okay to play some basic games, but don't expect to run, for example, here Persona 5 or Demon Souls or the God of War PS3 games. Those won't run here. It's obvious. You need a fast CPU. It's not very GPU demanded, this emulation, but you need a very good CPU generally. Also the graphics drivers of Intel are not great, and sometimes when they release a new driver they broke something or they break something in the compatibility of the emulation, so that's why I suggest to have several builds depending on the games you want to play. For example, I have here in my drive I have the Hard Corps Uprising, which is a Contra game made by Konami that in this build doesn't run, but in an old build from some months ago it runs perfectly. So basically maybe it's an emulation regression, or maybe it's an issue with the current with the actual drivers that I'm using here with my Win 2. So it depends on the game. So I suggest to have basically different builds, but more importantly, as I said at the beginning, with the Intel drivers that I'm using, the most important thing is not to use the new universal drivers, because they are not bad in terms of performance. They are more or less okay, but with these drivers, Vulkan is broken, and in most games you will need Vulkan to get decent speed, because OpenGL in Intel GPUs are quite bad, and Scott Pilgrim runs okay because it is a very basic game, but some other games will have a lot of issues or won't run. For example, Virtua Fighter run much slower with OpenGL than with Vulkan. So basically you need Vulkan for this emu. There is also a Direct 3D 12 backend, but it is not in use anymore, so don't use it, because basically you won't run anything on it. As you can see, the first game, it compiles of the modules. Okay, here is compiling shaders, as you can see here. I don't know if you could see it on the screen. I'm trying to place it more or less here so that you can see. Oh, I remember this game have a strange high volume. Well, this is not precisely the best Street Fighter game. It is not at all, but well. I don't know, it's just a simple. This game is as after Banner Climax is running at 720p. Only with Virtua Fighter I had to go down to 7% sky of screen resolution. Sorry. Of course, if you increase the wattage of the GPD WIN maybe to 10 watts, you can gain a little bit, but in my opinion it's not worth it. Okay, this is just a very quick. Okay, and this is basically my explanation of the PS3 emulation on the GPD WIN 2. I hope that it is interesting for you, that is useful for you in case you wanna. Well, something that I didn't explain in case you have never used this emulation. Obviously, for paths, you basically don't need nothing. You just select X input and it will detect your controls. And also, of course, the first time that you run the emulation, you need to install the PS3 firmware. Okay, to install the PS3 firmware, you just go to the PS3 PlayStation webpage and just look on Google for a firmware for PS3, and you get this file, and I'll show you here because I think I have it here, the PS3 update pub file. Okay, this is the file that you download and installed in the first time that you run the emulation. If you want to install a game, you can install the PKG if it's a game from the PSN store, or just if you have a, like it's in my case here in these folders, you can copy, or in disk you can copy the games from, depending on the source that you get it. Okay, so okay, this is all in this video. I hope it is useful for you. I had to make this video on camera because if I use OBS Studio to recording, the performance of the emulation drops a lot, so I thought that this was interesting to do a camera video. Sorry about my English, but I hope that the information is quite useful and that you can learn a little bit about how to use the emulation in WIN 2. Okay, until the next video.